Welcome again, friends. In this particular video we are going to discuss about the exchange of gases. Exchange of gases. So friends, we all know that we have to uptake oxygen through the atmosphere because our cell needs to produce ATP molecules, and ATP is cannot be produced without oxygen in aerobic organisms, and we are aerobic organisms, so we require oxygen. So we uptake oxygen from atmosphere to lungs, and then from alveoli to blood. That oxygen diffuses through the alveolar membrane. So suppose this is alveoli. So if you don't know about what is alveoli, please go and watch my respiratory system video. There you will get idea about what is alveoli. So alveoli are the small balloon like structures present inside our lungs. So the air which goes inside, the oxygen, these alveoli are balloon-like structures, so they get filled with that oxygen. So suppose this is alveoli, and this is the membrane of the alveoli. This is the epithelium, squamous epithelium, squamous epithelium of alveoli. So which is a very thin membrane, only made up of single layer, single cell layer, like this, like this. Okay. Then we all know that this alveoli is surrounded by some blood capillaries, right? So these are the walls of blood capillaries. They are also very thin, only made up of single layer of cells, and called as the endothelium cells. Endothelium. So this is endothelium, and in between these two layers there is basement membrane. This is basement membrane. This is basement membrane to support both these epithelium. So the oxygen which goes inside our cells, inside our lungs, so this alveoli is filled with oxygen, so that these all three layers are very thin. So that's why oxygen transport easily get diffuses from this to this. And in this blood capillary, we all know that there is blood, which is deoxygenated blood. But after uh, this oxygen comes inside this blood capillary, this blood becomes oxygenated because this blood has low partial pressure. So here there is a concept called partial pressure. You have to remember what is partial pressure. Here I will write. Partial pressure means the pressure contributed contributed by single or in particular gas in mixture of gases. Mixture of gases means air. So suppose this is a room. In this room there is lot more air, and in this air there are lot more gases. So suppose let's take oxygen. So oxygen, the pressure contributed by only oxygen in the mixture of gases, that is the partial pressure of oxygen. And the pressure contributed by CO2, that is the partial pressure of the CO2. So we write PO2, right? Partial pressure of oxygen, for oxygen, the partial pressure of oxygen, and we write PCO2 for partial pressure of CO2. So there is a pressure gradient between atmosphere and alveoli and blood and tissues. So that's why this oxygen diffuses and goes along the concentration gradient from high to low to low to low, like this. So we all know that in atmosphere there is, here we will write O2 and here we will write about CO2. In atmosphere there is much more partial pressure, only almost 159 mmHg. So here we will write partial pressure in mmHg. Okay, so in atmosphere there is 159 mmHg, of partial pressure. Then if you talk about alveoli will have less partial pressures, say 104. Then in deoxygenated blood, there is almost, uh, let me check, there is 40. Then in oxygenated blood is 95. And in tissues, again it is, I guess, 40. Okay, this is 40. So this is the partial pressure gradient. So atmosphere, there is lot more partial pressure. So from atmosphere to lungs or alveoli, this oxygen moves, right? Then from alveoli to deoxygenated blood, it moves because less oxygen, partial pressure. Then from oxygenated blood to tissues, it moves from 95 to 40. And tissues requires oxygen, so there it will be diffused, and ultimately it will be dissociated from the hemoglobin. In this case of CO2, the partial pressure gradient is in opposite direction. Tissues, there is much more CO2 because tissues are cells in the tissues are producing CO2 by oxidation of glucose. So they have lot more CO2 there, like 45. And here in oxygenated blood there is 40. Then deoxygenated blood again 45. In alveoli again 40. And in atmosphere there is not much uh, less at partial pressure of CO2. So from tissues CO2 moves oxygenated blood, it oxygenated becomes deoxygenated by increased amount of CO2. Then from deoxygenated blood to it comes to alveoli, then alveoli to atmosphere, like this. So this data you have to remember, which is given in the NCERT about both these gases. So this is the gradient you can see of partial pressure gradient. Okay, I hope it is clear. The same thing is explained in the diagram on the next page of the NCERT. Here I will draw a diagram for you. That diagram says this is alveoli, this is your heart, like this. These are the four chambers of your heart. These are auricles and ventricles, right? Then here they have drawn tissues. Tissues. I hope it is visible. So we all know that alveoli has 104 oxygen and 40 CO2, partial pressure CO2. Okay, so the arteries, arteries present, please. So this is pulmonary artery. It comes from this to this. Okay, this is pulmonary artery. It brings the deoxygenated blood. This is pulmonary artery. Okay, and this is pulmonary vein. It brings oxygenated blood to heart. Okay, so this is pulmonary vein. And from pulmonary vein, it the oxygenated blood inside this auricle, and then from its ventricle, the oxygenated blood goes to the tissues. So this is pulmonary vein. Okay, and this is systemic artery. Systemic artery. So it comes to tissues. Tissues will take this oxygen, and then they are producing CO2. So CO2 will come inside the blood. Then this CO2 will be bring back to the heart by the systemic vein. Okay, so this is the movement of CO2 and oxygen. So here O2 is going inside the tissues, CO2 is going inside the blood. So here gas exchange occurs and here gas exchange is occurring. These oxygen, these are bringing CO2 to heart, then this blood is entering in the lungs, then the CO2 will be diffused into the alveoli and O2 will be diffused in the blood category here. So because of this gradient, so I hope it is clear. Now that in the next video we will learn further discussion and further topics. If you like this video, please hit the like button, share this video with your friends. Thank you so much for watching.